Admiral Jiwoo stood in the war room deep inside Terra Command. The walls were covered with screens showing space maps, ship positions, and battle reports. Around the big table sat the most important people in human military command. "Play the message again," Jiwoo said. The Federation distress call filled the room. When it ended, everyone sat quietly. The sound of crystal people dying was hard to forget. Counselor Taemin spoke first. He was an older man with gray hair and worried eyes. "This could be a trap. The Federation has never asked for our help before. Why now?" "Because they are desperate," said Captain Boram. She was young for a ship captain, but she had proven herself in many battles. "Their ships are too slow and too far away." "That is not our problem," Taemin said. "We have spent 30 years trying to show the galaxy that we are not monsters. If we go to war now, they will fear us even more." "They already fear us," Boram replied. "But right now, innocent people need our help. Isn't that more important than politics?" Admiral Jiwoo looked at the reports on her tablet. The Vorthak Empire was known for its cruelty. When they conquered a world, they killed everyone who was our. Not like them. The Althari would not survive. "What do we know about Vorthak military strength?" she asked. General Wu Jin, the chief of military intelligence, answered. "They are strong but predictable. They use heavy ships and simple tactics. They rely on fear more than skill." "How many ships do they usually send for a cleansing operation?" "Between 20 and 50 ships, depending on the target." Counselor Taemin shook his head. "See? Even if we send our entire fleet, it would be a close fight. And for what? To save aliens who want nothing to do with us?" Captain Boram stood up. Her face was red with anger. "For what? For the right thing. These crystal people never hurt anyone. They make art and music. They don't even have weapons." "That is not our responsibility," Taemin said. "Then whose responsibility is it?" Boram asked. "The Federation ships that are too far away? The other races that are too weak to fight?" Admiral Jiwoo raised her hand for silence. She had been quiet during the argument, but now she had made her choice. "I want to hear from everyone," she said. "This decision affects all of humanity. Counselor Taemin, tell us why we should not go." Taemin stood and walked to the big screen. It showed a map of human space. Earth was surrounded by a red line, the quarantine zone. "For 30 years we have been trying to join the galactic community," he said. "Slowly some races have started to trust us. If we show up with warships and start killing, we will lose all that progress. They will see us as the violent primitives they always thought we were." Several people around the table nodded. It was a good point. "Captain Boram, your turn," Jiwoo said. Boram stood and pointed at a different screen. This one showed pictures of Althari civilians. They looked like people made of living crystal, beautiful and delicate. "Look at them," she said. "They are dying right now while we debate. The Vorthak don't care about politics or diplomacy, they care about killing, and we are the only ones who can stop them." "But at what cost?" asked Commander Sujin, the head of the space fighter forces. "If we attack the Vorthak, we might start a war." "The war already started," Boram said. "The Vorthak started it when they began killing innocent people. The only question is whether we will fight to protect life or sit here and let genocide happen." Admiral Jiwoo looked around the table. Half the people seemed to agree with Taemin. Half seemed to agree with Boram. "General Wu Jin, how fast can we prepare a response fleet?" "We have 12 ships ready for immediate deployment," Wu Jin said. "Fast attack vessels with full crews. They could launch in 4 hours." "Only 12 ships against a Vorthak fleet?" Taemin asked. "That is suicide." Captain Do Hyun, who commanded one of those 12 ships, smiled. "Counselor, you forget where we come from. Earth has been at war for thousands of years. Our ships are built for fighting. Our crews know battle like they know breathing. The Vorthak ships are bigger," Taemin pointed out. "So what?" said Captain Boram. "Big targets are easier to hit." Admiral Jiwoo stood up. "I'm going to call for a vote. This is too important for one person to decide alone. All in favor of sending the fleet to help New Haven? Hands went up around the table. Jiwoo counted them carefully. All opposed? More hands went up. Jiwoo counted again. It was very close. The vote is 7 in favor, 6 opposed. The fleet will launch. Counselor Taemin shook his head sadly. I pray you are making the right choice, Admiral. So do I, Jiwoo replied. Captain Boram was already moving toward the door. I need to get to my ship. Wait, Jiwoo called. Boram, you will command the fleet. Boram stopped and turned around. Admiral, Captain Do-hyun has more experience. Do-hyun is a good fighter, Jiwoo said. But this mission needs someone who understands why we are going. Someone who believes in protecting the innocent. Do-hyun nodded. She is right. You should lead us, Boram. Boram saluted. I won't let you down. Just bring everyone home, Jiwoo said. The next few hours were chaos. 12 ships prepared for immediate launch. The crews ran through their ships, checking weapons, engines, and life support. In the armory, weapons officers loaded special ammunition designed for fighting alien technology. Captain Boram stood on the bridge of her ship, the Indomitable. It was not the biggest ship in the fleet, but it was fast and deadly. Through the windows, she could see the other 11 ships getting ready. Captain, called Lieutenant Hae-won from the communications station. All ships report ready for departure. Thank you, Hae-won. Open a channel to the fleet. Channel open, Captain. Boram picked up the microphone. All across the 12 ships, crews stopped what they were doing to listen. This is Captain Boram speaking to all ships of Task Force Guardian. Today we go into battle not as conquerors, but as protectors. The people of New Haven never hurt anyone. They don't deserve to die just because they are different from the Vorthak. She paused and looked out at the stars. I know some people think we are making a mistake. They think the galaxy will hate us more if we fight. But I believe the opposite is true. Today we show the galaxy what humanity really stands for. We stand for protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Through the ship's internal speakers, she could hear her crew cheering. The Vorthak think they are strong because they have big ships and no mercy, but they have never fought humans before. They have never fought people who grew up on a world where everything tries to kill you. They are about to learn that predators from Earth don't give up and we don't run away. More cheering came from all 12 ships. Set course for New Haven. Maximum speed. Let's go save some crystal people. The fleet jumped to hyperspace in a flash of light. Behind them, Earth slowly turned in space looking peaceful and blue, but the planet had just sent its children to war. Admiral Jiwoo watched from Terra Command as the ships disappeared into the darkness between stars. In her hand, she held another message from New Haven. It was very weak. Still holding in the deep caves. They are looking for us. Please hurry. Hurry, Boram, Jiwoo whispered. Hurry. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the New Haven system. Captain Boram stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and looked at the horror in front of them. New Haven was a beautiful world covered in crystal cities that sparkled like diamonds, but now those cities were burning. Massive Vorthak warships hung in space above the planet like black metal clouds. Plasma fire rained down from their guns, turning crystal buildings into melted glass. How many enemy ships? Boram asked. Lieutenant. Hae-won checked her screens. 34 Vorthak vessels, Captain. Mostly heavy cruisers and battleships. And we have 12 ships, said Commander Yuna, the ship's science officer. The odds are not good. Boram smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator about to hunt. Yuna, you are thinking like a Federation officer. We are not Federation. We are human. Hae-won, open a channel to the fleet. Channel open, Captain. All ships. This is Boram. You can see what we are facing. 34 enemy ships against our 12. They are bigger and have more guns. Any Federation fleet would retreat. She paused and looked at the burning planet. But we are not retreating. Those crystal people down there are dying while we talk. Captain Do-hyun, take your squadron and hit their left flank. Make noise and get their attention. Captain Soo-jin, your fighters will go after their small ships. I will take the Indomitable straight at their flagship. Captain, said Do-hyun's voice over the radio. That ship is 3 times our size. Good, Bo-ram replied. It will be hard to miss. The Vorthak had not noticed the human ships yet. They were too busy destroying the planet below. Captain, Yuna said quietly. Are you sure about this? If we fail. If we fail, at least we tried, Bo-ram said. But we are not going to fail. Hey-1, send a message to the Vorthak fleet. What should it say, Captain? Tell them to stop killing civilians and surrender. Give them one chance to do the right thing. Hey-1 sent the message. A few seconds later, an answer came back. The Vorthak commander's voice was deep and full of hate. Unknown ships, you are interfering with a holy cleansing. Leave now or be destroyed with the heretics. Bo-ram nodded. I thought so. All ships weapons free. Let's show these butchers what happens when you threaten innocent people. The human fleet spread out and attacked. Captain Do-hyun's destroyer, the Retribution, led 3 other ships against the Vorthak left flank. The enemy ships were huge and covered in armor, but Do-hyun had fought bigger enemies before. Target their engines first, he told his weapons officer. Big ships can't fight if they can't move. The Retribution fired its main guns. The weapons were not as big as the Vorthak guns, but they were much faster. While the enemy took 5 seconds to charge 1 shot, the humans fired 20. The Vorthak cruiser tried to turn and fight back, but it was too slow. Human weapons punched holes in its engine section. The big ship began to drift helplessly. Next target, Do-hyun said calmly. Meanwhile, Captain Soo-jin led 60 fighter ships in a swarm attack on the smaller Vorthak vessels. The fighters were tiny compared to the enemy cruisers, but they moved like angry wasps. Stay together and pick your targets, Soo-jin told her pilots. Aim for their weapon systems. If they can't shoot, they can't fight. The fighters dove and weaved between the big ships, too fast for the Vorthak guns to track. Human pilots had trained their whole lives for this kind of fighting. Their reflexes were faster, their tactics were better, and they were not afraid. One by one, the smaller Vorthak ships went silent as their weapons were destroyed. But the real fight was happening in the center, where Captain Bo-ram took the Indomitable, straight at the Vorthak flagship. The enemy ship was called the World Render. It was 1 kilometer long and covered in heavy weapons. Its commander, Fleet Admiral Korthex, had destroyed dozens of worlds in his career. Small ship approaching, one of his officers reported. It's heading right for us. Korthex looked at the screen. The human ship was tiny compared to his flagship. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the New Haven system. Captain Bo-ram stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and looked at the horror in front of them. New Haven was a beautiful world covered in crystal cities that sparkled like diamonds. But now those cities were burning. Massive Vorthak warships hung in space above the planet like black metal clouds. Plasma fire rained down from their guns, turning crystal buildings into melted glass. How many enemy ships? Bo-ram asked. Lieutenant Hae-won checked her screens. 34 Vorthak vessels, Captain, mostly heavy cruisers and battleships. And we have 12 ships, said Commander Yu-na, the ship's science officer. The odds are not good. Bo-ram smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator about to hunt. Yu-na, you are thinking like a Federation officer. We are not Federation. We are human. Hae-won, open a channel to the fleet. Channel open, Captain. All ships, this is Bo-ram. You can see what we are facing. 34 enemy ships against our 12. They are bigger and have more guns. Any Federation fleet would retreat. She paused and looked at the burning planet. But we are not retreating. Those crystal people down there are dying while we talk. Captain Do-hyun, take your squadron and hit their left flank. Make noise and get their attention. Captain Soo-jin, your fighters will go after their small ships. I will take the Indomitable straight at their flagship. Captain, said Do-hyun's voice over the radio, that ship is 3 times our size. Good, Bo-ram replied. It will be hard to miss. The Vorthak had not noticed the human ships yet. They were too busy destroying the planet below. Captain, Yu-na said quietly. Are you sure about this? If we fail? If we fail, at least we tried, Boram said. But we are not going to fail. HFY, send a message to the Vorthak fleet. What should it say, Captain? Tell them to stop killing civilians and surrender. Give them one chance to do the right thing. HFY sent the message. A few seconds later, an answer came back. The Vorthak commander's voice was deep and full of hate. Unknown ships, you are interfering with a holy cleansing. Leave now or be destroyed with the heretics. Boram nodded. I thought so. All ships, weapons free. Let's show these butchers what happens when you threaten innocent people. The human fleet spread out and attacked. Captain Do-hyun's destroyer, the Retribution, led 3 other ships against the Vorthak left flank. The enemy ships were huge and covered in armor, but Do-hyun had fought bigger enemies before. Target there. Engines first, he told his weapons officer. Big ships can't fight if they can't move. The Retribution fired its main guns. The weapons were not as big as the Vorthak guns, but they were much faster. While the enemy took 5 seconds to charge 1 shot, the humans fired 20. The Vorthak cruiser tried to turn and fight back, but it was too slow. Human weapons punched holes in its engine section. The big ship began to drift helplessly. Next target, Do-hyun said calmly. Meanwhile, Captain Soo-jin led 60 fighter ships in a swarm attack on the smaller Vorthak vessels. The fighters were tiny compared to the enemy cruisers, but they moved like angry wasps. Stay together and pick your targets, Soo-jin told her pilots. Aim for their weapon systems. If they can't shoot, they can't fight. The fighters dove and weaved between the big ships, too fast for the Vorthak guns to track. Human pilots had trained their whole lives for this kind of fighting. Their reflexes were faster, their tactics were better, and they were not afraid. One by one, the smaller Vorthak ships went silent as their weapons were destroyed. But the real fight was happening in the center, where Captain Boram took the Indomitable, straight at the Vorthak flagship. The enemy ship was called the World Render. It was 1 kilometer long and covered in heavy weapons. Its commander, Fleet Admiral Korthex, had destroyed dozens of worlds in his career. Small ship approaching, one of his officers reported. It's heading right for us. Korthex looked at the screen. The human ship was tiny compared to his flagship. He laughed. 1 small ship against the World Render? These humans must be insane. All weapons fire on that ship. Destroy it. Every gun on the flagship turned toward the Indomitable. Massive plasma bolts filled space like deadly lightning, but the human ship did something no Vorthak had ever seen before. Instead of running away or trying to dodge, it flew straight toward the incoming fire. Captain, Yuna shouted, we're flying into their weapons. I know, Boram said calmly. Woo-jin, are our shields ready? Chief Engineer Woo-jin's voice came over the speaker from the engine room. Shields at maximum power, Captain, but they won't hold long against that much firepower. They don't need to hold long, just long enough. The Indomitable flew through the storm of plasma fire like a sword cutting through rain. Its shields flared and sparked but held. The ship shook and rattled, but kept moving forward. Distance to target? Boram asked. 2 kilometers and closing. Fast, HFY replied. On the Vorthak flagship, Admiral Korthex watched in disbelief as the human ship kept coming. His weapons were hitting it, but it would not stop. What are these creatures? He whispered. Admiral, his weapons officer said, they are getting too close. If they ram us, they would not dare. They would be destroyed too. But as he watched, the human ship did not slow down. It was heading straight for his bridge. All engines, emergency reverse, Korthex shouted. Get us away from that ship. But the World Render was too big and too slow to move quickly. The Indomitable kept coming. At the last second, Boram gave a new order. All weapons fire at point-blank range. Target their command section. The Indomitable's guns opened up when it was less than 100 meters from the flagship. At that distance, every shot hit. The Vorthak ship's bridge exploded in fire and metal. Then the human ship pulled away, its mission complete. Admiral Korthex found himself on the floor of his ruined bridge. Half his officers were dead. The other half were too scared to speak. Damage. Report, he said weakly. Command systems are destroyed, Admiral. Weapons offline. Engines at half power. Cortex looked at his screens. Across the battlefield, his fleet was losing. The small human ships were everywhere, moving too fast to hit, striking with deadly precision. These were not like any enemies he had ever fought. The Federation races fought carefully, trying not to lose ships, but these humans fought like they did not care if they lived or died, as long as they won. "Sir," one of his officers said, "the human fleet commander is sending us a message." Cortex nodded weakly. Captain Boram's voice filled the bridge. "Vorthak ships, this is your final warning. Stop attacking the planet and surrender, or we will destroy every one of your vessels." Cortex laughed bitterly. "They have 12 ships. We still have 28 that can fight." "Admiral," his weapons officer said quietly, "look at the battle. Reports." Cortex looked at his screens again. In 30 minutes of fighting, the humans had already disabled 6 of his ships and damaged many others. His own flagship was crippled. Meanwhile, not one human ship had been destroyed. These were not normal beings, these were something else. Something that had learned to fight on a world where only the strongest survived. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "the human commander is waiting for an answer." Cortex looked at the burning cities below. The cleansing was supposed to be easy. The crystal people had no weapons. They should have died quietly. But now he faced creatures from the legendary deathworld, warriors who had spent thousands of years learning how to kill efficiently. For the first time in his life, Fleet Admiral Cortex was afraid. "Send a message to all ships," he said quietly. "Prepare for retreat." "Admiral?" his officer asked, confused. "You heard me. We are leaving." "But the cleansing is over. These humans, they are not like other species. They fight like demons." On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Boram watched as the Vorthak fleet began to pull back from the planet. Several enemy ships were already running for hyperspace. "Should we pursue them, Captain?" asked Commander Yuna. Boram shook her head. "Our mission was to save the Althari, not to destroy every Vorthak ship. Let them run. Maybe they will think twice before attacking innocent people again." She opened a channel to New Haven's surface. "This is Captain Boram of the human fleet. The attack has stopped. You are safe now." The reply came in the musical voice of an Althari survivor. "Thank you, brave warriors. You saved our children." Boram smiled. For the first time in her life, she was proud that the galaxy feared her people. Sometimes fear was the only thing that stopped bullies from hurting the innocent. "All ships," she said to her fleet. "Well done. Now let's go help those crystal people rebuild their homes." Fleet Admiral Cortex sat in his damaged command chair and watched his fleet retreat. Half of his ships were limping away with broken engines and dead weapons. The other half were running as fast as they could toward the edge of the system. He had never lost a battle before. In 20 years of conquest, the Vorthak Empire had never been defeated. They were the strongest military force in this part of the galaxy. But these humans were different. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "the sector command is asking for a battle report." Cortex did not want to answer that call. How could he explain that 34 warships had been beaten by 12 smaller vessels? How could he tell his commanders that his crews were afraid? "Tell them we will report later," he said. Through his broken windows, he could see the human ships near New Haven. They were not chasing his fleet. They were not trying to capture Vorthak prisoners. They were helping the crystal people they had saved. "Sir," his science officer said, "I have been analyzing the human weapons and tactics." "What did you find?" "They are not using standard Federation technology. Their weapons fire faster than anything we have seen. Their ships move in ways that should be impossible. And their tactics—" "What about their tactics?" "They fight like they expect to die, Admiral. Most species try to preserve their ships and crews. The humans don't seem to care about casualties, they just want to win." Cortex nodded slowly. He had noticed the same thing. When the small human ship flew straight at his flagship through a wall of plasma fire, he thought the captain had gone insane. No rational being would do something so dangerous. But it had worked. The human captain had calculated that her shields, could last just long enough to get close. Then she had destroyed his command systems with point-blank weapons fire. It was brilliant and terrifying at the same time. "Admiral," another officer said, "I am reading energy spikes from the human ships." "What kind of spikes?" "Unknown. It looks like they are preparing some kind of new weapon." Cortex felt his blood go cold. "All ships, maximum speed to hyperspace jump point. Now." But before his fleet could escape, something strange happened. The human ships did not attack again. Instead, they moved closer to New Haven and began sending shuttles to the planet's surface. "What are they doing?" Cortex asked. His science officer checked the sensors. "Sir, it looks like they are delivering medical supplies and rescue equipment." Cortex stared at his screen. The humans had just won a major battle against superior numbers. They had proven they could destroy his entire fleet if they wanted to. But instead of finishing the job, they were helping survivors. "I don't understand," he said. Neither did anyone else on his bridge. Down on New Haven, Captain Boram walked through the ruins of Crystal Song City. The beautiful crystal buildings were melted and broken. Althari survivors moved through the wreckage, looking for family members and friends. The Althari were tall and thin, made of living crystal that changed color with their emotions. Right now, most of them glowed with the pale blue of sadness and fear. But when they saw the humans helping to move debris and tend to the wounded, some of them began to glow with the warm yellow of hope. "Captain Boram," called a voice behind her. She turned to see Elder Crystal's Song of Peace approaching. The old Althari was cracked in several places, but still alive. Her crystal body sparkled with the gold of gratitude. "Elder," Boram said with a respectful bow. "I am sorry we could not arrive sooner." "You arrived in time to save thousands of lives," the elder replied. "We owe you a debt that can never be repaid." Boram shook her head. "You owe us nothing. We did what anyone should do when innocent people are in danger." The elder's crystal body flickered with surprise. "Not anyone would risk their lives for strangers. Why did your people come to help us?" Boram looked around at the destruction. Human soldiers were working alongside Althari civilians to rescue people trapped under collapsed buildings. Human doctors were treating wounded crystal children with gentle care. "Because it was the right thing to do," she said simply. The elder studied her with ancient eyes. "Your people have a reputation in the galaxy. They say humans are violent and dangerous." "We are," Boram said honestly, "when we need to be. But we are also protectors. On our world, the strong defend the weak. That is how we survived. And now you defend us even though we are not human." "Life is life," Boram replied. "It doesn't matter what shape it takes." Nearby, Sergeant Haywan was helping to set up a field hospital. The Althari medics were teaching human doctors how to treat crystal injuries. Despite the language barriers and different biology, they were working together. "Captain," Haywan called out. "We have a problem." Boram walked over. "What is it?" "Some of the Althari children are still missing. They were hiding in the deep caves when the attack started. The caves are unstable now from all the bombing. Our people are too big to fit through the narrow passages." Boram looked at the cave entrance. It was barely wide enough for a human child. "What about the Althari? Adults?" "They are too weak from the battle and they are afraid the caves might collapse." Boram thought for a moment. Then she called over her ship's engineer. "Wu Jin, can we stabilize those caves?" Chief Engineer Wu Jin examined the cave entrance with his scanner. "Maybe, Captain, but it would take time, and we would need to go in there with the children to set up the support beams." "How dangerous is it?" "Very dangerous. One wrong move and the whole system could come down." Boram looked at the faces of the Althari parents. Their crystal bodies were flashing with the dark red of despair. Their children were trapped, and they could not save them. "I'll go," Boram said. "Captain, you can't," Haiwan protested. "If something happens to you, the fleet loses its commander. The fleet can take care of itself for a few hours. Those children can't." She turned to Wu Jin. Get me a small team and your best stabilizing equipment. We're going into those caves. 2 hours later, Boram and 3 other humans crawled through narrow crystal tunnels deep under New Haven's surface. The caves were beautiful but deadly. One wrong step could bring the ceiling down on all of them. I can hear something up ahead, whispered Lieutenant Sujin, who was leading the group. They crawled forward carefully. Their lights revealed a larger chamber where dozens of Althari children were huddled together. The young crystal beings were glowing with the pale white of terror. It's okay, Boram said softly. We're here to help you. The children backed away at first. Humans looked very different from Althari, but when Boram showed them pictures of their parents waiting outside, they began to trust. Can you walk? She asked the oldest child. The little ones are hurt, the child replied in broken Federation standard. They can't move fast. Boram looked at her team. The caves were too narrow to carry the injured children normally. We'll make it work, she said. For the next 4 hours, the humans crawled back and forth through the dangerous tunnels, carrying crystal children to safety one at a time. Wu Jin set up support beams as they went, stabilizing the caves just enough to keep them from collapsing. When the last child was brought out, the Althari parents surrounded the human rescuers with tears of joy streaming down their crystal faces. Elder, Crystal Song of Peace watched the reunion with wonder. Captain Boram, she said, I have lived for 800 years. I have met many species from across the galaxy, but I have never seen anyone risk their lives for strangers the way your people did today. Boram was tired and dirty from crawling through the caves, but she smiled. Maybe that is why the galaxy fears us, she said. We don't just fight to destroy. We fight to protect, and we never give up. The Elder's crystal body glowed with the deep blue of understanding. Perhaps the galaxy has been wrong about humans. Perhaps, Boram agreed. But that's okay. Fear can be useful sometimes. It makes bullies think twice before hurting innocent people. Up in space, the last of the Vorthak fleet disappeared into hyperspace. Admiral Korthek sat in his broken command chair and thought about what he had witnessed. The humans had beaten his fleet in battle. Then they had spent hours saving alien children from collapsed caves. They were warriors and healers at the same time. For the first time in his career, Korthex wondered if the Vorthak Empire was on the wrong side of history. The humans had shown him something he had never seen before. Strength used in service of mercy. It was a lesson he would never forget. 3 days after the battle, Commander Hyunsik arrived at New Haven aboard the Federation diplomatic vessel Harmony. He had not slept well during the journey. Reports from the battle made no sense to him. 12 human ships had defeated a full Vorthak battle fleet. It should have been impossible. Sir, his pilot called from the front of the ship. We are approaching New Haven orbit. Hyunsik looked out the window and stopped breathing. He had expected to see a dead world covered in ashes. Instead, he saw something beautiful. The crystal cities were being rebuilt. Huge construction machines worked alongside Althari and human crews. Ships moved back and forth between the planet, and orbital stations carrying supplies and people. Are those human ships? His pilot asked. Hyunsik counted them. All 12 human warships were still there, but now they were surrounded by cargo vessels and medical ships. The humans had called in their civilian fleet to help with reconstruction. Sir, his communications officer said, the human fleet commander is asking to speak with you. Put her through. Captain Boram's face appeared on the screen. She looked, tired but satisfied. Commander Hyunsik, she said. Thank you for trusting us with this mission. Captain Boram, Hyunsik replied carefully. We are grateful for what you have done. But I must ask, where is the Vorthak fleet? Gone. We convinced them to leave. Convinced them? Boram smiled. We had a discussion about the importance of not killing innocent people. They seemed to understand our point of view. Hyunsik had read the battle reports. The discussion had involved massive explosions and the near destruction of the Vorthak flagship. Captain, the Federation Council has asked me to assess the situation here. May I beam down to the planet? Of course. Elder Crystal's Song of Peace is expecting you. An hour later, Hyun-sik stood in the main square of Crystal Song City. The buildings around him were being rebuilt with human help. Construction crews worked together, humans and Althari side by side. But what surprised him most were the children. Althari younglings were playing games with human soldiers. The crystal children glowed with the bright yellow of happiness while the humans laughed and smiled. There was no fear, no suspicion, just friendship. Commander Hyun-sik? He turned to see Elder Crystal's Song of Peace approaching. The ancient Althari leader looked much better than he had expected. Elder, he said with a bow, I am here to assess the situation and offer Federation aid. Your aid is welcome, the elder replied. But as you can see, we are already receiving excellent help. She gestured to a nearby building where human engineers were teaching Althari workers how to use new construction techniques. The humans have shared their technology freely, the elder continued. They have given us better ways to build, better medicine for our wounded, better food for our survivors. And they ask for nothing in return. Hyun-sik was confused. Nothing? Nothing. Captain Boram said they are just happy to help. This was not what Hyun-sik had expected. Federation species usually helped each other, but there were always agreements and trade deals involved. The idea of giving aid without expecting anything back was strange to him. Elder, may I ask you about the battle? Were you able to observe? What happened? The elder's crystal body flickered with the orange of excitement. Oh yes, Commander. It was incredible. The humans fought like nothing I have ever seen. The reports say they took terrible risks. They did. But not for glory or conquest. They risked their lives to save ours. Captain Boram herself crawled through collapsing caves to rescue our children. Hyun-sik had heard about the cave rescue, but he had thought it was propaganda. She really did that? For 4 hours, she and her team went back and forth through those dangerous tunnels. They brought out every single child, even the ones who were too injured to walk. The elder pointed to a group of young Althari playing with human soldiers. Those children would be dead now if not for Captain Boram's courage. Hyun-sik watched the children playing. They were laughing and glowing with joy. It was hard to believe they had been trapped underground just a few days ago. Commander, the elder said quietly, may I ask you something? Of course. Why does the Federation keep the humans isolated? They are good people. They risk everything to protect innocent life. Hyun-sik had asked himself the same question. The official answer was that humans were too violent and unpredictable, but everything he saw here contradicted that belief. It's complicated, he said. Is it? Or is it just fear? Before Hyun-sik could answer, Captain Boram walked up to them. She was wearing work clothes instead of her uniform, and her hands were dirty from helping with construction. Commander, she said with a nod. How do you like our little construction project? It's impressive, Hyun-sik admitted. Captain, may I ask you something? Sure. Why are you doing all this? You completed your mission when you drove off the Vorthak fleet. Why stay to help rebuild? Boram looked around at the busy construction site. Human and Althari workers were raising the frame of a new school. Because the job isn't finished until everyone is safe, she said. We didn't come here just to win a battle, we came here to save lives. That means making sure these people have homes and hospitals and schools. But you're spending your own resources. Your government isn't paying for this. So what? We have plenty of resources. They need help. It's that simple. Hyun-sik stared at her. In all his years of diplomatic service, he had never met anyone who thought like this human captain. Captain, the Federation owes you a great debt. No debt, Boram said firmly. We don't keep score when it comes to saving innocent people. That evening, Hyun-sik sat in his quarters aboard the Harmony and wrote his report to the Federation Council. It was the hardest report he had ever written. Council members, he began. I have completed my assessment of the New Haven situation. The human intervention was successful beyond all expectations. He paused and looked out at the planet below. The crystal cities were glowing softly in the darkness, beautiful and peaceful. The humans not only drove off the Vorthak attack, they have spent the last 3 days helping to rebuild everything that was destroyed. They have shared their technology, their medical knowledge, and their construction expertise without asking for anything in return. He took a deep breath and wrote the most important part of his report. Council members, I believe we have been wrong about humanity. Yes, they are capable of terrible violence, but they use that violence only to protect the innocent. In every other respect, they demonstrate compassion, generosity, and selflessness that exceeds our highest ideals. He finished the report with a recommendation that would probably end his career. I recommend that the Federation immediately lift the quarantine on Earth and invite humanity to join us as full members. They have proven that they are not the monsters we feared. They are the guardians we need. The next morning, Hyun-sik met with Captain Bo-ram before she left New Haven. Captain, he said, I want to thank you personally for what you have done here. Just doing our job, Commander. No, you did much more than that. You showed the galaxy what humanity really stands for. Bo-ram looked thoughtful. Commander, can I ask you something? Of course. When you first called Earth for help, you broke Federation rules, didn't you? Hyun-sik nodded. Yes. I could face a court-martial when I get back. Why did you take that risk? Because innocent people were dying, and we were the only ones who could help them in time. Bo-ram smiled. Then you understand us perfectly. We don't care about rules when lives are at stake. She held out her hand. After a moment, Hyun-sik shook it. If the Federation ever needs help again, Bo-ram said, don't hesitate to call. I won't, Hyun-sik promised. As the human fleet prepared to leave New Haven, thousands of Althari came out to say goodbye. The crystal people glowed with the deep blue of gratitude and the warm yellow of friendship. Elder Crystal Song of Peace stood beside Hyun-sik as the human ships departed. They will be remembered here forever, she said. Not as conquerors or destroyers, but as the brave souls who came from across the galaxy to save strangers. Hyun-sik nodded. I think the whole galaxy is about to learn what we learned here. What is that? That sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones you most want on your side. As the last human ship disappeared into hyperspace, Hyun-sik made a promise to himself. He would make sure the galaxy knew the truth about humanity. They were not monsters to be feared. They were heroes to be celebrated. 6 months later, Admiral Jiwoo stood in the Great Council chamber on Luna, Earth's moon. The room was filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. Today was the most important day in human history. The Federation Council had voted to end Earth's quarantine. Admiral Jiwoo of the Terran Defense Force announced the council speaker, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms. Please step forward. Jiwoo walked to the center of the chamber. Beside her stood Captain Bo-ram, now promoted to Admiral herself. Behind them sat the human delegation, including Dr. Yuna, who had become Earth's first ambassador to the Althari. The Galactic Federation has reviewed the events at New Haven, the speaker continued. We have studied the reports from Commander Hyun-sik and Elder Crystal Song of Peace. We have examined the evidence of human conduct during and after the battle. Jiwoo kept her face calm, but inside, she was nervous. This moment would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. For 30 years, the speaker said, this council believed that humanity was too dangerous to join the galactic community. We were wrong. A murmur went through the chamber. Many of the alien representatives had been afraid of this day. The humans who fought at New Haven showed us something we had never seen before. The speaker continued. They showed us warriors, who fight not for conquest, but for protection. They showed us strength used in service of mercy. Commander Hyun-sik, now promoted to Admiral himself, stood up in the Federation section. If I may speak, he said. Please do, Admiral Hyun-sik. 6 months ago I broke Federation rules when I called Earth for help. I was prepared to face punishment for that decision. But watching what happened at New Haven, I realized something important. He looked around the chamber. We spend so much time making rules and following procedures that we sometimes forget why those rules exist. Rules should help us save lives, not prevent us from saving them. The humans reminded us of that. He turned to look at Jiwoo and Boram. They didn't care about our rules or our politics. They only cared about innocent people who needed help. That is the kind of ally we need in this galaxy. The speaker nodded. Admiral Hyun-sik speaks wisely. The Federation Council has voted. By a margin of 412 votes to 87, we hereby end the quarantine of Earth and invite humanity to join the Galactic Federation as full members. The chamber erupted in noise. Some representatives cheered. Others looked worried. But most seemed curious about what would happen next. Admiral Jiwoo, the speaker said, will humanity accept our invitation? Jiwoo stepped forward. She had prepared a long speech, but looking at all these alien faces, she decided to keep it simple. We accept, she said. But we want everyone here to understand something. We are not joining the Federation to gain power or territory. We are joining to help protect innocent life throughout the galaxy. And if other members don't want your help? Asked a representative from a warrior species. Then we will respect their wishes, Jiwoo replied. But if anyone calls for help against bullies and murderers, we will come. That is who we are. Admiral Boram stepped forward. We know many of you are still afraid of us. That's okay. We understand. Why? But we ask that you judge us by our actions, not by your fears. An old representative from a peaceful species stood up. What happens when your people disagree with Federation decisions? Your species has a history of violence when angry. Boram nodded. We do disagree sometimes, and yes, we can be dangerous when angry. But we save our anger for those who hurt innocent people. If the Federation makes decisions we don't like, we will argue and debate and vote, just like everyone else. And if you lose those votes, then we will follow Federation law just like everyone else. We may be warriors, but we understand the importance of working together. Dr. Yuna stood up from the human delegation. If I may add something? Please do, Ambassador Yuna. I have spent the last 6 months living with the Althari people. They were afraid of humans at first, just like many of you. But fear turned to friendship when they saw that we were there to help, not to conquer. She looked around the chamber. The Althari children who were trapped in those caves are now in school, learning human and Althari history side by side. Their parents work with human engineers to build better cities. We are not just allies now. We are friends. Elder Crystal Song of Peace stood up in the visitor section. Her crystal body glowed with the warm gold of truth-telling. May I speak for my people? She asked. Of course, Elder. Before the humans came, we had never seen real warriors. We thought all violence was evil, but Captain Boram and her people taught us that there is good violence and bad violence. Good violence protects, bad violence destroys. She looked directly at Jiwoo. The humans showed us good violence. They used their strength to save our children. They risked their lives for strangers. If that is what humanity brings to the Federation, then we welcome them with joy. The chamber fell silent. Then, slowly, representatives began to stand and applaud. Not all of them, but most. After the ceremony, Jiwoo walked with Boram through the corridors of the Federation building. So, Boram said, we're Federation members. Now, how does it feel? Strange, Jiwoo admitted. 30 years ago, they wouldn't even talk to us. Now they're asking us to help keep the peace. Are you worried about that responsibility? Jiwoo thought about it. A little. It's one thing to rescue one colony. It's another thing to be guardians for the entire galaxy. We won't be alone, Boram pointed out. The Federation has good people like Hyun-sik and the Elder. They'll help us do the right thing. They reached a window that looked out at Earth. The blue planet turned slowly in space, looking peaceful and beautiful. You know, Jiwoo said, I think our ancestors would be proud of us today. Why? For thousands of years, humans fought each other, war after war, century after century. But all that fighting taught us how to protect what matters. Now we can use those lessons to help others. Boram nodded. The violence that made us dangerous also made us capable guardians. A young officer approached them with a message pad. Admiral Jiwoo? This just came in from Federation Communications. Jiwoo read the message. It was short and urgent. What is it? Boram asked. Distress signal from the Kepler system. Pirates attacking a civilian. Transport convoy. Federation ships are 6 days away. Boram smiled. And we're 2 days away. The message specifically requests human assistance. Jiwoo continued reading. They said they need the ones who came to New Haven. Jiwoo handed the message to Boram. Admiral Boram, how many ships can you have ready in 4 hours? 20 ships fully crewed and equipped. Do it. And Boram. Yes? Send a message back to Kepler system. Tell them help is on the way. Boram saluted and hurried off to prepare the fleet. Jiwoo stayed by the window looking at Earth. 6 months ago, humanity had answered one desperate call for help. That single act had changed everything. They were no longer the feared outcasts of the galaxy. They were the guardians people called when evil needed to be stopped. Her communication device buzzed. It was Captain Do-hyun, calling from his ship in Earth orbit. Admiral, my crew is ready to launch. What are our orders? Save innocent lives, Captain. Same as always. Understood. We won't let you down. As Jiwoo watched, 20 human warships left Earth orbit and jumped to hyperspace. In 2 days, they would arrive at Kepler system, where pirates would learn what the Vorthak had learned at New Haven. Nobody hurt innocent people while humans were watching. The age of the Deathworld protectors had truly begun. In her final report of the day, Jiwoo wrote a simple entry in Earth's historical records. Today, humanity joined the Galactic Federation as full members. We go forward not as conquerors, but as guardians. We will use our strength to protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will answer every call for help no matter where it comes from. She paused, then added one more line. Let it be known throughout the galaxy. If you need help against bullies and murderers, call Earth. We will come. Outside her window, the stars shone bright in the darkness. Somewhere among those stars, people were in danger. But they were not alone anymore. The deathworlders were coming to help. And they would never stop coming.